Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight in the major of Gerontology. And my guest today is Tom Callahan. He's the Director of Senior Living for Archer Law. And welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where did you go to school?
I'm a graduate of the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C.
Ah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So before we get into what you're doing today, when you were back in high school, when did you start thinking about college? Was it freshman year, senior year? When did that all start?
I actually went to a college prep school. So you went into high school with the idea of you're going to college. Plus, I will say my parents raised me with the idea of it's not if you go to college, it's when and where you go to college. So I always kind of had that idea going in. I really didn't start thinking about which colleges to choose until about my junior year.
Okay.
A guidance counselor sat down with him and he said, what do you want to do? At that point, I wanted to go into communication. So he directed me in a couple schools, and one of them was Catholic U.
Oh, fantastic. Now, how did you end up picking Catholic U? What was the process that you took?
I applied to 4 colleges, and I had 2 top choices. One of them was Emerson College in Boston, and the other one was Washington, D.C., was Catholic U in Washington, D.C. Went to visit them. Went to visit them in March.
Okay.
Went to visit Boston in March. Have you ever been in Boston in March? It's cold. It's really cold. And
Sure.
The college at that point in time was down on the river, and it was freezing. And I'm like, oh, okay. 2 weeks later, I went down to Catholic U in Washington, and March flips on a dime. Went down beautiful spring-like weather and a great university. And I'm like, okay. And looked at the 2 programs. My mom made a very interesting comment, which stuck with me. She says, you can go to a college or you can go to a university. A university is going to look better on a resume.
Wow.
Okay. Liked the college, liked the campus, liked the degree program, and liked DC.
Great. Now, how involved did your mom and dad get in the college process?
Very involved. Certainly I was in high school. They paid for the application process, but they made sure that I got those applications in. We went to visit them together as a group, sat down with the process, went through the whole, pros and cons of this college versus this college.
Sure.
They were really good sounding boards. At the end of the day, they said to me, the decision is mine.
Right.
So I really had to, it was my first major decision in life.
Sure.
But it was good because I had the guidance of my parents, I had the guidance of the guidance counselors in school, and I made my own decision, and I will tell you it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
So now you're at Catholic University.
Mm-hmm.
What is the school like? What's it about?
The school is, it's a campus in northeast section of Washington, D.C. So the thing about going to college in Washington, D.C. is all the schools are connected. So if I went to take a class at Catholic U, or if I went to take a class at George Washington, or at George Mason, or at University of Maryland, they're all connected, and they transfer the credits back to your home university.
Wow.
So it's a consortium system. It's a traditional campus. There was northwest, southeast campus. Lived on it. Great. Had its own metro stop, which was convenient. So I really feel that not only did I go to Catholic U, I went to Washington, D.C. for college because I had the resources of a whole city at my disposal.
Yeah, fantastic. So now, gerontology, where you are today, how do you go from college to the position that you have as Director of Senior Living?
The funny thing is I went to be the next Steven Spielberg. And one semester into it, I was like, I really don't like actors. I thought, I got to change my mind. So, declared myself an open major, just started looking around for things. And then 3 things happened all at once. We had the Tammy Faye, Jim Baker scandal.
Sure.
We had the Ollie North scandal. And we had the Gary Hart scandal. And living in Washington, D.C., these were the big news items. And what I realized was that, 2 things people always need will be lawyers and public relations people.
Sure.
So switched my major to public relations and speech communication, and I graduated with that as my degree. How I got to gerontology was quite by mistake. Went to work in restaurants and retail management, worked my way up through the system, was a regional for a national retailer.
Wow.
Just got to the point where I didn't like it. My job was to make sure that people bought these certain Christmas ornaments. And it was just, I was like, really? This is what my degree's about? Just decided I had to do something better. I had to do something with my life. I had to do something that gave back. Quit my job, signed up with a temp agency, went out onto different temp jobs. 1 week they didn't have anything for me except a 2-day temp job in a sales office. And it wound up being a senior living community. They liked me, I liked them. 2 months later, I was full-time. 18 months later, I was a vice president.
Wow.
And from there, I was recruited away from another company, and then recruited away by another company. And through the whole process, I learned the process of aging, really, of what's involved. And I also learned that people don't look into these things unless they're thrust into the situation.
Right.
We're all going to age every day, no matter what we do. The problem is we don't plan for it. Yeah. There's a multi-billion-dollar industry dedicated to retirement planning. Unfortunately, not a lot of people take the aging process into consideration when they're planning for retirement. Yeah. As a result, people, when an event happens, somebody breaks a hip, something happens to mom and dad, they develop Alzheimer's, something, families are caught unaware.
Sure.
So in the past close to 20 years, I have been learning, absorbing more information about the area of aging. I started my own company about 5 years ago called AFI Coaching Consulting. And what I did was I worked for individuals to make sure that I held their hands through the process with mom and dad.
Right.
If an event arose, here's what you need to know. Took them through the process. About a year ago, I merged my firm with Archer Law Office, and we do one thing. We do elder law, and we do it really well. Uh-huh. We handle everything. We handle the paperwork. We handle the placement. We handle wills, trusts. I do placements into either facilities or home care. Whatever the person needs, we solve their problems.
And is it just in New Jersey, or you can do it in Pennsylvania, New York?
I can work nationwide. The law firm is licensed in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York.
Okay, good.
But we're seeing a couple, as we say, Toms developing.
Really?
There are other people who are getting into this field because of the fact of the way the country is aging.
Right.
Right now, in the 2014 census, that's the last year that we have the most up-to-date numbers for, there were 46.2 million people over the age of 65 in the United States.
Wow.
That's 14.5% of the population. Wow. The population is growing. There's a term out there that we don't like, but it's the best term for it. It's called the silver tsunami. The largest population growth in this country was the baby boom generation from 1945 to 1963. So you saw a big birth rate happening. 1963, a lot of things happened. The baby boom generation ended, Kennedy was assassinated, and you saw the advent of the pill. So as a result, birth rates declined. People weren't having the large families they were having anymore. If they were having kids, they were having one or two.
Right.
So we see now the population declining. So we have this huge segment of the population that is coming to be age 65 and older, being taken care of by a very smaller population. By the year 2040, the population in this country over the age 65 will be 21.7. By 2060, there will be 98 million people over the age of 65.
Wow.
So as a result, aging is becoming an industry.
So that brings us back into college.
Mm-hmm.
You said that there are a lot of kids now taking up gerontology in college. So what is that about, and how does someone get involved in something like that in college?
The fact that this industry is growing so much, colleges are now developing the gerontology programs. You can get either a bachelor's or a master's in it, and it takes you through what, besides the basic core, your English, your math, all that, you're learning about the aging population, you're learning about facility management, you're learning about the continuum of care, You're learning about state regulations. You're learning about the psychology of an older person. You're learning about the diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, and the many forms of dementia besides Alzheimer's. You're learning basically how to do programming or how to make resources available to somebody. Gerontology covers a lot of areas. We're seeing nurses, social workers. We're seeing people like myself who went into public relations, who just learned about the industry. You're seeing business people because every facility that's out there needs a business manager.
Sure.
And there's a way that it's run because you were dealing not only with insurances, but we're dealing with Medicare and Medicaid, which are its own separate animals. So in order to really be able to deal with these things, people have to learn the process to which it subscribes.
So now in college, is there a whole criteria of stuff?
There is.
Credits and so on?
Correct. It's a degree, it's a bachelor's degree, just like any other. You're going to have your core section, but you're also going to have your area of study, which is going to, you can focus it a number of different ways. You can focus it either to facility-based care, you can focus it towards the nursing care, you can focus it towards the social work end of it, whatever aspect you want. There's a lot of different ways that you can even do topics within the main core.
And then are there many colleges that do this?
It's growing. Right now, a number of colleges are offering certificates in gerontology, like University of Massachusetts, University of Southern California, Thomas Edison State University, Johns Hopkins, University of Kentucky, University of Pittsburgh, and University of Missouri, just to name a few. Your degree programs, you're seeing them at Southern New Hampshire University, you're seeing them at Capella. And master's programs, you're seeing Boise State, University of North Dakota, University of Missouri, Grand Canyon University, Kansas State, University of Indianapolis, Iowa State University, and Wichita State.
Wow. So it's quite a number growing.
That's quite a number of growing, and that's just right now. You're seeing a number of colleges developing these programs as well. University of Southern California developed their program in conjunction with the American Society on Aging. Their first cohort had 500 students in it.
Oh my God.
Which, when a university starts a cohort, which is basically a new degree program, 500 is a really good number.
Sure.
So they have really been encouraged by that, and they're growing it. University of Massachusetts offers a program that is both online and in person. Another great program as well.
Yeah.
Takes you through the process, and that program was developed in conjunction with people who were actually developing senior living communities.
Interesting. So they can pick any particular field, like senior living communities, like healthcare.
Correct.
So it can be a wide variety of things.
Senior living encompasses a wide variety, and that's what a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Is they say, oh, you have to be a nurse, or you have to be a med tech. Trust me, like I said, you need a business person to run the facilities. You need salespeople. So marketing is also something else that's big, because these facilities need to be filled, or home care agencies need people for their aides to take care of. So you have a marketing person in that regard. You have public relations people. You have people like myself who have learned about the industry, who become guides and take you through. You have social workers who are working in communities to make sure that they're getting the proper care, not only the proper care, but then the proper services going home. One of the things you're seeing, especially with the ACA, the Affordable Health Care Act, was hospitals are now really being held accountable for their discharges. Because if you get discharged from a hospital and you wind up back in the hospital within 30 days for the same thing, technically that means they didn't fix it. So the hospital doesn't get paid on the insurance end. Wow. You don't get charged, but the hospital doesn't get paid. So one of the things hospitals now have to do is to make sure that they are doing good discharges. So you'll see, especially with older folks, they'll discharge them to a skilled nursing facility or a rehab facility, which is, you get 100 days a year, clips of 20 days at a time. So what they really want to do is to make sure that person, not only do they discharge from the hospital in good condition, but then they go to the facilities where they get additional care. So they are not frequent flying, as we like to say, going through the system all the time.
So tell me something. If you're a high school student, boy or girl, What kind of grades do you need? Do you need basics to get into something like this, or is it highly more like a doctor type of environment?
It's not a doctor type environment, certainly. I'm not an MD and I don't play one on TV. Although at times I have walked into a facility to do a care plan check and people have addressed me as doctor, and I'm like, no. But sure, I'll take the chart anyway. It's one of those things that you need to be a thinking person. You need to be a problem solver. You also need to be somebody who's innovative. If you can see a better way to build this mousetrap, then build it. There's a lot of innovation going on in my industry right now. You're seeing new programming coming up. You're seeing new types of communities being built. Back when I was a teenager, before I even started high school, you had, the old folks' homes. In 1986, there was a big revolution in the senior care industry.
Sure.
Big revolution. They realized that, old folks' home of just warehousing people doesn't work. People needed more engagement. So what was developed was the assisted living communities. Also, skilled nursing homes became twofold. They were rehab centers and skilled nursing homes. You also saw a lot more home care companies coming into play. And you're seeing that even happening even more. In 2008, there was a big push here in the state of New Jersey to stop sending so much money to facility-based care and keep people aging in place in home. So a lot of home care companies came into being. Now they're regulating that a lot more, which some people don't think is good, but it actually really is good because you're shaking out the people who shouldn't be in home care. We're looking for people to be licensed. That's one of the things that goes back to, what do you need? You need the desire to want to help somebody, to want to make a difference in somebody's life, and to also try something new.
But grade-wise, it's, you need a B
your
average,
average
A average?
A, B, C, your average student.
Okay.
Especially, I was always told when I was in high school, there's a college out there for everybody. From your best student to your worst student, there is a college out there if you want to go. Right. And that's the important thing to always stress to somebody when they're looking into college. You really have to want to go. If you don't want to go and you're just going to pay lip service to your parents, you're not doing them a favor, you're not doing yourself a favor.
Yeah, so to get in this particular industry, it's more of the caring.
A desire to do it. They'll tell you, nobody gets rich doing this, except for the nursing home operators. But, there are ways to move ahead and to make a really good living in it. I do make a good living doing what I do. I also enjoy what I do. It took me a long time to get to a place of really enjoying my job.
Yeah.
But I will say, for the past 20 years, I haven't gone to work because I have a job that I love and a job that I'm really passionate about.
So tell me this. Usually it's the kids that get hit with both the parents aging and the students going to college. So what do you say to those parents that are out there that are in that age bracket where, they have this 70, 80, 90-year-old mom or dad, and then they also have the teenager that's going to college? Yeah, how difficult is that to juggle?
That's very difficult. In fact, we have a term for that. They are called the sandwich generation because they've got the parents up here and they've got the kids down here, and they are stuck in the middle. And that's where a lot of our business is right now, is addressing the needs of the sandwich generation. Going back to something I said earlier, people don't plan to age.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we know what to do with the children. We know that as the baby gets older and we have to go back to work, we look into daycare. We look into somebody minding the kid. The kid then goes to school. They do this, they do that. We know what somebody does from the time they're born to the age of 65. We kind of have a plan of where everything goes. But once somebody retires and they need care, what do we do? Well, there are plenty of solutions out there. Yeah. Somebody doesn't necessarily have to go to a nursing home. They can go to an adult daycare center, which doesn't sound as bad as it sounds. An adult daycare center is actually like an activity center. There are senior resource centers growing up. Princeton, New Jersey, where we are right now, has a fantastic senior resource center. They're not just playing bingo. They're actually going and they're learning something. They're going for activities.
They pick up things like computers or things like that.
They can pick up computers. They are picking up sports. at an
Oh.
older age. They're actually taking classes. They're learning a new skill. They're learning something. Maybe somebody always wanted to be an artist, but they were so busy working in the insurance industry for all these years that they never picked up that paintbrush. Senior resource centers encourage them, pick up that paintbrush. Come on, we're going to have a painting class. And they get them painting and doing something. We're seeing a lot of people age 65 and older going back and doing something new in the workforce, which we call an encore career. It's that accountant who decided that they want to become an artist. It's the stay-at-home mom who doesn't want to be a stay-at-home grandmom who now has decided that, what, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be an accountant. They're learning new tasks.
So tell me this, financially for these sandwich type of parents, is it a big burden on them?
It can be.
For the students going to school, to college, and for the parents going into nursing homes or whatever they're going into?
It can be, because you figure you've got college tuition, and then on top of it, you've got mom and dad going into, if they need a nursing home, you're looking at about $8,000 to $15,000 a month.
Wow.
On top of the students' things. But what we have to realize, and one thing my firm does, is we look to make sure that mom or dad can afford the care that they need.
Gotcha.
A lot of times what we have to do is Medicaid planning, where we have to look at the finances and figure out what the spend down period for mom or dad is until they can apply for Medicaid.
Because are they utilizing their mother and father's income of some sort, Social Security or anything like that?
Mom and dad should be using their income for mom and dad. You as the parent should be using your income for your children and for yourselves. You really shouldn't. There are ways for you to pay for mom and dad without it coming out of your pocket. There are programs that are out there. Sometimes we really have to do a lot of problem solving to figure them out, and that's where social workers come in as well. Another degree program which is important in the senior living industry. Again, it's being the problem solver.
Yeah.
It's figuring out a way to do this. We had a client once who came in for a Medicaid application, and once we took a look at it, we realized it's not going to work. So what we did was we looked at her overall issue, and we problem solved the issue instead of just filling out a form.
Now, does the government get involved with any of this as well? Is there government help like there is for the students going to college? There's all types of government help that parents can apply for. Is there any government help for the elderly as well?
There is government help. It's not like student aid. We don't call it senior aid. There's Medicaid, which is a program specifically designed for people who can no longer afford to care for themselves, but they have to be within a certain criteria. They have to be earning under X amount of dollars a month. They have to have so much in savings. They have to need care.
Yeah.
So there are programs that are out there. But what's happening is because of the growth of the baby boom generation, we're looking at some of our resources being stretched very thin. So that goes back to once you get out of college and you have a retirement, the opportunity to start saving for your retirement, you should start saving for it. For the sandwich generation out there, you should be looking into long-term care insurance because that's going to cover you and not put that burden onto your children. We should also be looking into that too. Anybody who's retiring, get yourself a long-term care policy. Actually, you should get it when you turn 40, so that there's enough money into it.
Really? That's interesting. I guess we're getting into that age.
We're getting to that age, right?
So basically, we're coming to the end of the show, and usually what I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the parents out there that their sons or daughters are in high school, they want to go to college, this is a particular industry that they want to get into. What advice do you want to give to those students that are out there?
A lot of times high school students have to do volunteer opportunities. If you can encourage them to volunteer in a senior living community, that's great because they get a taste for it. Some of the companies out there are actually offering incentives to nurses to come work for them. Back in 2000s, there was a big nursing shortage, and you were seeing hospitals like paying up to 1 year's mortgage payment on a house if you joined our hospital. Well, we're seeing that again is a nursing shortage. So senior living companies are getting into that as well. They're offering some incentives if you come and join. So think of it this way. They're going to not pay necessarily a mortgage, but they're going to maybe pay towards a student loan. Sometimes these communities do have grants that they'll offer a student. You know, hey, you worked for us for a long time, we're going to give you $1,000 grant. It's not a lot, but hey, that pays for books in that first year.
Yeah.
It is an industry that is growing, and it will continue to grow because we age every day. And if you think about it, you're ensuring your own future if you're guiding your child towards this industry as well, because you're going to be there someday. So why not guide your child in there now so that they are the ones who are properly taking care of you?
Great. Well, thank you very, very much for coming.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.